Right, okay, everyone knows the story, right? That after winning this second major, Zeus goes, and this isn't going to be a main part of the interview, and does what I consider an ill-fated move, where he tried to become a player and play for Immortals, and even he figured out very quickly, like, that's a fucking bad idea, this isn't working. Now listen, I get that side of the story, by the way, like, I totally understand the idea that, like, if you think it's one last chance to be a pro and to play, listen, everyone would rather play than be a coach and these things, it's just a fact, right? But what I wanted to know was the other side, like, that story makes sense to me, but this is the part I wanted to ask about, and obviously this is a bit touchy, so you'll have to tell me what you're going to say on this. One is, I did sometimes get the vibe, because I've noticed those players throughout their whole careers, I don't think that they necessarily like coaches that much, Zeus. So I did kind of also get the vibe that they were like, do we really need him? And then also, secondly, I wondered, maybe I heard a little bird, maybe there was also some fuckery, like maybe the org didn't want to pay Zeus what he was worth, you know, a guy who just won 2 majors. What would you say to this? Or, you know, you can answer it however you like.
All right, I'm going to answer that in a bit, but on the playing career, look at the data after and see if I'm crazy. It was a horrible move. I played badly, but I lasted, I think, 3 months in Immortal. We beat Cloud9 on LAN on my first tournament.
Okay.
We won Pro League online on front of SK, who was the best team in the world, and we beat them. And ECS, I think we were doing better. We did better as well. And then we fucked up E-League and Brazil, which were gigantic things. But 3 months playing, I tried to be from coach to an in-game leader and player for Immortals, and we know how that team is in personalities. Love those guys. So
true.
Just a side thought there. But on the SK thing, no. So yeah, explain why it went. And so first, the organization not paying me, that's bullshit, because that's like, whoever said that, I get why people would think that, because coaches back then, we didn't have an amount, right? Like, it was a new thing. So it was way different. So I remember back then, like me, Zonic, and all the other coaches, like at the time Starks, we all pulled each other to see where we got. And I was very lucky, and I'll say this openly, because my team fought for me till the end. Like that's how we were close. They're like, no, Zeus gets the same salary as everyone else. That's that. It's as simple as that. Like, no other way, or else we're not going, we're not doing. And so, no, like I left SK because I really wanted to try it one last time. And looking from behind LG's screen, it looked like it was fucking easy to be player, you know? Right. It seemed simpler than it was. But so, yeah. And what was the other part? The players not liking coaching.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is something that when I was there to begin with, no joke, like I said, coaching was new. And so I was developing as well with them. So I did, why I say I was a comedian, I mentioned this a lot of times in interviews and things like that, because I adapted to whatever the situation. So you're thinking coach, like, oh, he has to do the analysis. No, I was thinking coach, like, I need to do whatever this team needs done to be fucking better, to have an easier day. Some days it was tactical work. Some days it was bitching at somebody. Some days it was being a friend and a shoulder for someone that needs it. Some days it's getting food. Some days it's working, like doing some pep talk or some shit like that. But it's mostly keeping everyone on the same fucking strategy and mentality of we're one unit, we're going together, and being kind of an example where possible, right? Because everyone's fallible. So they didn't have a problem with coaching. They had a problem with over-analyzing their own game. And I think that's what none of the other coaches, other than me at the time, and me because I was coming from the inside, knew how to work with them, right? Like they Counter-Strike is an area that, I defer from a lot of the coaches out there. I think that there's not one way to do it. It's 1,000 ways, and it's kind of the way you shape it up to be, and you're playing an odds game, right? So you don't know how the other team's going to react, and you have to react to yours. But when other coaches they had their way to play, and I accept that, and even though I believed something else, I was able to accept that at one time and help towards that goal. So that's the idea we're running with. There's one game, we're running with this one game. And I think after I left, we had won a few world tournaments, things had changed. It's like, oh, maybe I am the shit, you know? So maybe that mentality comes around, but I know how it come around and why other coaches specifically weren't given shots, and the ones that were either didn't adapt or didn't like, right? Like, as much as I value their work.
Did you get the vibe? Because obviously they had years later where there just was no coach. I mean, I know sometimes for the tournament they would list Den as the coach, but like he wasn't obviously like a traditional coach, right? But they had times where they won championships. Obviously the summer next year was very good, but they also had a lot of times they were close to winning a major and didn't. They never really had the same height. They weren't like the number one team, well, at least beyond brief periods. Do you get a sense later, just to skip forward on this one, later when they brought you back, did they sort of realize that you were the guy they needed in the team? Like they needed a proper coach again?
I think so. I think it's not about proper coach per se, because the ones that were there before were proper coaches as well. It's about, I think it's kind of like the same as a sports psychologist, one that you're willing to work with as well. You know, it doesn't matter how good I am. If you're not willing to work with me, it's not going to work. And with me, they realized that, okay, no, like not realize, but they're like, okay, if we build this together, I remember how much he brought and things like that. Right. And the chance, especially having gone American at the time and just like changing language, because again, when you look back, it's and like the immortal thing, it's not that MIBR was not as bad as everyone made it out to be. You know, like during the time is like everyone's, oh, this is bad. What's MIBR doing? They were making semifinals. They had the finals in Blast. They were doing like, and they had entirely changed their system and language and everything like that. So it has to be from a nostalgia point, in my view. Like I get that, of course, we believe that we could have been the number one team in the world, but Paco and I were on Liquid, things like that. That's how that merger, in my view, becomes real, right? Because it doesn't depend on us. There's money, there's everything else. But for it to become real, it has to be something that, for a personal sense and professional together, this is making a lot more sense. And I wouldn't say so it's a coach revival thing that, and some newfound belief that coach is like, they already knew what could be done and couldn't be done. It's just, no, we think that the benefits outweigh the cost of this one, you know, like in everything, and the potential is there.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.